Awesome, guys. Well, welcome back to Fight the Burnout with Chris. Today we have an amazing, good friend of mine. I've known him for a few years. He's an awesome guy. Used to do a lot of development stuff in New York. We have Fabrizio. I'm not
Hey
even going to
guys,
try to
how are you?
pronounce your last name. I'll let you do it. He's my Italian friend. I don't think I only have one Italian friend, but he's awesome. So, as
Hello.
usual, instead of me introducing him and telling, all the different stuff. I'll let him let us know who he is, what he's done in the past, what he's doing now, and yeah, Fabrizio, go for it.
Hey guys, nice meeting everyone. So the name is Fabrizio Uberti-Bona, proud Italian. I came to the US exactly 20 years ago,
Oh, wow.
and I moved to New York. In my past life, I went to culinary school. I worked in Switzerland, France, England, Spain, you name it, working in hotels and restaurants. And I came to open a restaurant on 42nd and Park Avenue for this restaurateur in Manhattan. And then shortly after, within a few years, I was dating a girl, and she said, I need to get you out of the restaurant business because you should be selling a real estate. I said, no, it's not what I do. And sure enough, she got me into one of those classes. I got myself a license. And within a few months, I went back to the owner of the restaurant and I had a very, very good conversation. I said, listen, I just started this new real estate thing, but you either pay me more or you let me go. Like it's one of the two. So
What
you
year
either
was
let
this
me
originally?
go do that or we revisit our arrangement. And long story short, it worked out very well. I did rentals like everybody else does in the city for the first 12 to 18 months. And then I had a walking, this gentleman was looking for an apartment to buy. And he said, I had a horrible experience with another broker. I'm looking to buy an apartment. Can you help me? I said, sure, of course. He said, how much experience do you have? How many apartments have you sold? There's a big fat zero as an answer. And I said, listen, Mark, the truth is that I haven't sold any. But this is the beginning of my career. So you'll be getting undivided attention, and this is going to be the primary focus for me. It will be long story short, if you guys know, in New York 16, 17 years ago, we had bidding wars. Meaning, if an apartment was listed at 500,000, it would sell for 640. It was stupid. Okay. So we lost multiple bidding wars to the point that I became the joke in the office. Fabrizio can't sell an apartment. That was the thing, I couldn't sell him an apartment because we kept losing to other bidders. At one point, I was working for a big firm, and at one point, the PR group of the firm reached out to me and said, "Hey, the New York Post wants to speak with you." I said, "About what?" "Oh, they have a great article about you not selling an apartment to this gentleman because you lost all the bidding wars." I said, "This is not the kind of publicity I want." I said, "No, but the article is about loyalty and about how you stuck with the guy for how long? 6, 7 months now?" I said, "Well, yeah, of course. Meantime, it was the one client I had. I wasn't going to let him go.
Yeah.
Full page spread on the New York Post. I mean, you need to understand, Mark finally landed and bought an apartment. We lost the 17 bidding wars.
Far out.
Talk about getting burned out.
I was gonna say.
But it was my goal. I need to get this done, right? So let's look at the positive. The Post gives me a full page spread with the story about me and this guy on the Upper East Side. And long story short, when I closed it, the press came out, and my phone started ringing because of the press on the paper. I never sold so many apartments after that moment, because guess what? If we lost 17 bidding wars, that means I saw every possible product, every apartment within the price point. I've seen it so many times. And so that month, in 1 month, I sold 5 apartments.
Wow.
Then on the next 12 months, I sold 16 units. And I was on fire because I knew it, because I spent so much time with this gentleman at the beginning. And so next thing you know, I quickly got into sales. A year later, I was at a networking event. I met this gentleman, ended up being one of the largest products in the country, gave me an opportunity. Now I'm selling a luxury high-rise with 478 units. It was a team of 5. And myself, I sold 222 in this building specifically.
Wow.
When the job was when we sold all the units, I stayed because I bought in the building. It was fantastic. In 1 year, I did 76 resales in that building.
Wow.
I did good. And then from there, I moved to Brooklyn. And then again, I always stayed on the development side. Then an opportunity came along to go work at the firm where I originally started. I met this lady, and she was working there as a manager, and there was an opening for an assistant manager position. And I said, oh, I'll take the interview. So I got the interview, and the president of the company, which knew me at that point, said, what are you doing here advertising for this assistant manager position? What is not for you? I said, I know, but you're making a mistake. Like, you guys do so many rentals, but the money's in sales. Let me come in and let me teach these guys how to stop paying someone else's mortgage and buy an apartment instead, and we'll be rock and roll. So I was manager of the year the first year. I got promoted the second year. The third year, they gave me a 10,000 square feet office with 2 other managers. And then on the fourth year, I ended up I was overseeing sales for 5 offices. And then on the fifth year, I was hoping to get more, and because I had a nice setup. And the company where I was already maxed out. I was the only manager with so many offices, and there was nothing more, there were no positions, nothing better I could have done there. And I was capped. So I put my nose out, I looked for another opportunity, and the best developer in town offered me a major position. I ended up being the regional sales director for Excel for a year.
Wow.
Just the developer in New York City. It was a fantastic opportunity. And then at the end of the 1 year, my wife and I made a move. We bought a place by the beach, and we came down here just to hang. And then Corona hit, and we've been here since. And it doesn't suck. We're here, and I slow down from the hustle of New York City, which I wanted. It was time. Yeah. But again, it was the phase of my life where things weren't as important as before. And maybe we can discuss this later, but things changed for me. And if you would have told me 2 years ago, you're going to move out of the city, no way, it's just not going to happen. And now a few things happen.
Yeah, I remember when we first met, and we're at Date with Destiny, and you're like, I think I'm going to move. And we're like, okay, cool. And we're like, okay, sweet, let's see it. And then literally, I shit you not, Fabrizio is an action taker, man. And you can hear it from everything you do. You're like, you're a go-getter. Talk about mental resilience. 17, losing 17 bidding wars. Man, I know people that, lose something twice, and they're like, no, I'm fucking over.
So many.
But Fabrizio is like, within 3 months, he was like, oh, I'm moving out of New York. And we're like, holy shit, man, this guy, he doesn't, when he says he's going to do something, he does it.
You need to give credit to the right person, right? So how many times have we heard that, every king is a better queen right behind him?
Yeah.
It also depends who you're with. Like I'm proud of my wife, and she's awesome because I can ask her anything. And I always ask her first before I do anything wild. Like, baby, I want to get a car, or, yeah. Hey, what about we buy this? She always tells me, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I still always check first. I always ask first.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to hear do whatever you want, because do whatever you want to me, we're doing it. So when I said, listen, I got this idea, beach house, blah, blah, blah. She goes, do whatever you want. Exactly 4 weeks later, 4 weekends later, we were closing. Like, I already came down here. I already looked at furniture. I already looked at the house. I already had a car set up, like so much that when we landed, the dealership was waiting for us at the arrivals with a new car. So we made it happen. But again, you need to have someone that lets you do whatever you want. And I found the right partner, and there's a lot to do. There's a lot to say about that.
Yeah, and has your back. I mean, I know like my stages of burnout and stuff, my wife always had my back. When I look back, because of her, I was able to make it through it.
100%.
So Fabrizio, for you, obviously, you're very, very busy guy. I know from memory, you were telling us like 12, 15-hour days, and, that was just normal. It was just what it was every day. So what is it that you would define burnout as? Because everybody has a different definition.
So I'll give you a little perspective. So in one of the positions I had in New York, when I had the 5 offices, a good portion of my time was dedicated to recruiting. An agent will go and recruit clients, will go and prospect for listings. When you manage an office or 3 or 4 offices, your job is to recruit new agents because you need to bring new talent in, right? That's one of the things you need to do. And I remember that we recruited some fantastic talent, some amazing people, and they would just burn out in a couple of months. So there's 90% ratio. And real estate agents in New York fail within the first 6-7 months. And the other 10% usually burn out within another year.
Yeah. It's
simply because they just burn out. It's such a steep learning curve that at the beginning, they end up working a solid 12, 14-hour days, 7 days straight, because there is no such a thing as a part-time real estate agent. People say, oh, they watch $1 million listing. It's all fake. And they think, oh, this guy's making $1 million. I can make $1 million. No. And then they burn themselves out. And secondarily, I feel like there is a overwhelming amount of rejection in what we do. And some people just don't take it right. So think about any doctor or any stockbroker or any lawyer. Think at the beginning of their career. They're sleeping in the office.
Yeah.
They put in 80, 90 hours a week at the beginning, but then later is good. So I feel like it's also a lack of immediate compensation for people, because you need to put in a lot of hours at the beginning just to start understanding what to do. And especially at the beginning in real estate, especially in Manhattan, because it's such a small island, people think, oh, I got this. No, you need to be laser focused on what to do. Because if you start thinking that you can cover 2 or 3 neighborhoods, you're already losing the battle. There's so much concentration. It's such a vertical market that all you need is one building. Let's remember, at the peak of my career in 1 year, I sold 76 apartments in one building.
Yeah.
I didn't need to go across the street. I didn't want to go across the street. I was in one building. I lived in the building because I owned it. And so for me, in the end, the feeling of exhaustion is the ability of just not being able to do anything mentally and physically because you're just out. And again, it's upsetting because we've had some fantastic salespeople coming through our doors, and you just spit them out. They vanish. They can't deal with rejection. Some people, they get punched in the face once and they're like, whoa, my God. To me, it's like the boxer mentality, You've done martial arts, and many people do, and they say, well, it's the number one quality. It's not about knowing the opponent. It's not how strong you are. It's like Rocky. It wasn't really, but he could be a punch. And that's how he won most of his fights.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing here in New York. That there's a ridiculous amount of brokers, overwhelming amount of rejections, and people get rejected a lot, and everyone's up to that, and not one many times to get. They lose so many big balls or whatever the case may be, they drop. And it's just, we see it a lot, And they lose motivation. Mainly I feel is the lack of motivation and the lack of personal time. Because if you had personal time and if you felt achieved, you wouldn't burn out. You will be happy and move forward, right?
Yeah. So you covered a few things, like for the next question on that. For you, Fabrizio, because you were real resilient. As you already said, you did 17 rejections pretty much, and you stuck with it. You're like, keep going. So, what is it that you've learned over the years? Because obviously, I'm sure you've been in stages of burnout and that as well, different levels and that. But what would you say you've learned to be able to, overcome or even prevent yourself from, experiencing that level of, disheartedness and, exhaustion?
So let's be honest. No one has made more mistakes than I did. I remember it was bad at the beginning because I was tough as nails and I wasn't listening to anyone. And my manager was younger than I was. I wasn't having it. I was like, and the same manager came to me once and said, "Listen, you got two options. You either go back and work at a restaurant, or you stay here and do it and you follow what we tell you to do, because it's not working out. Whatever you're doing."
Mm.
I was like, it was difficult to swallow, but I'm like, okay, let's listen to the guy, you know. And secondarily, trust me, talking about being burnt out, I once lost a deal for $16.2 million. And these were the days where I was in real estate, but I was still working at the restaurant at night. You know what I mean? I was still working the extra 4 or 5 nights a week just to pay the bills, just to eat. Okay, I wasn't really thriving yet. And I lost a deal for 16.2 million. And when I lost it, and it wasn't my fault, but I lost it. I remember losing the deal, I put the phone down, it was a dead deal. And I remember going on Expedia, looking at tickets to go back home. I say, I'm out. I worked on this deal for 4 months. What didn't I do to get this deal together? I orchestrated the whole thing. And on the last minute, it didn't work because whatever happened. And whatever happened was out of my control. And I felt so empty inside, so betrayed, let's say, from all the efforts, all the time I put in. Man, I'm telling you, I wasn't looking at my tickets. I'm going back home. I need to go with my mom. Like, I'm beat up, you know. And then I just looked at my desk. I looked at my vision board, and I looked at my calendar. So I got 2 clients this weekend. Let's just get these 2 guys out of the way, and then we'll and then we go back to Italy. And then I just went back on the rotation. But what I found crucial for me was time management, learning how to manage my own time. Because again, specifically in real estate, if you start from scratch and if you really want to get going, there's so much to do at the beginning. You find yourself working 40, 15 hours a day. When you go home, you're on your laptop because you need to do research on laptop, about client, network, social media, newsletters. I mean, never ends. And so learning to associate a certain time slot for everything I had to do in my line of work, in my business, allow me to give myself some time. And it's crazy because at the beginning in my schedule, I would block out 20 minutes for lunch, because if I didn't block it off, I wouldn't eat. And this is why I always been so skinny, because you're running around, there's no food, you know. Yeah. And so time management definitely was something that really helped me getting through, because I was able to manage my business, because I wasn't working on my business anymore. I was looking at it. I was like, okay, what's missing here? Well, personal time is the first thing that's missing. Yeah. I had no social life. No wonder I was upset. I'm like, no wonder I wanted to go back to Italy when I lost the deal for 60 mil, because I worked day and night for this damn deal for 4 months. Yeah. I feel like I lost 4 months of my life, you know? So that was, but again, time management now I live by. And now I look at my phone religiously. Like, I knew I had this phone call with you. I had an alarm set up 20 minutes before just to prep. Like, I knew this is the way I sit from now. And since I allocate X amount of time for everything I need to do, I now have structure. Yeah. And without being too rigid, I have time for myself. And without being so strict about the schedule, I'm in a different place in life. So it works. I mean, it works for me. Then
well, no, and you know, Fabrizio, it's a real important thing, and for everybody, you don't have to be doing 15-hour days in real estate. You can still just be doing, like, as for me, I train a lot of people mentally and physically to get into the place, and that's one of the first things that I teach them is schedule your time.
You have to,
because you need to schedule in when you're going to train. You need to schedule in when you're going to have time for yourself. You need to schedule in when the rest of the stuff is, and that way you actually, you stick to it. So you actually feel more productive, as well as you have, like you said, you have that time for yourself, even if it's just 15 minutes, just recharge yourself.
At least you have it.
you
Yeah.
have it there, and you know, otherwise it gets built up. And I mean, I know I have days where like I'll literally book my whole day out and I'll be like, oh yeah, cool, no, I'll be good. By the end of the day, I'm like, holy fuck.
Too much.
because I didn't take time for myself, even if it's just to go out, look out off the deck and have 5 deep breaths.
It's so crazy, man, because we're not here. I don't want this conversation to be about me, not about money, but it's crazy how when I was working like 70 hours a week in New York, and now that I delegate a lot and the amount of hours are definitely much lower, I make the same money. It's just I'm like, what was I doing to myself, when I'm here, and it's different. It's a different lifestyle. But again, when things change, you have a kid, everything changes. And
it's interesting you say about that delegation. I had one of the first people I interviewed for this series, for this Fight the Burnout, was Jeff J. Hunter, who owns Savage Marketing, and it's all online marketing type stuff, and creating virtual assistants and virtual teams and stuff. And he said that's the one thing that he learned about burnout, was that he was like, for me, I was getting burned out doing the stuff that I didn't enjoy doing. Sure. And also it was cutting up so much of my time. So he's like, I created a team to do the things that I don't enjoy doing because they enjoy doing those things, as well as now I have 10 times as much time because I'm delegating everything out.
So I remember learning from this gentleman. I worked at a smaller firm for about 3 years, and the son of the father of the owner was involved with training, and he was an old man, but he was a savvy businessman. Street guy, but smart. And he came to me and goes, "You're doing it all wrong." I was like, "What are you talking about? Look at this, look at that. I'm proud. Look at all my deals." He goes, "You spend time doing what you hate to do." I'm like, "Oh, you got that right. I definitely don't like to do XYZ. I hate doing ABC." He goes, "I know. You should delegate, pay someone to do it, and then you concentrate on doing what you do best." I said, "Yeah, but then I got to pay the other person." And he goes, "Just think about it for a second. You hate doing this. You hate doing that. I can see the way you act in the office because you're doing it, just fighting it, when you could have somebody that actually love doing it."
Yep.
And you can focus on where the money is. And I was like, motherfucker is right. And so that's the first time in my life, in my career real estate, that I started, I need to have a team. I need to find the person who loves to do that what I hate to do. And sure enough, I found her. And then I'm like, oh wait, I can find somebody else to do this. And the next thing you know, I had a whole row of agents working with me. I was like, this works, because now I'm free.
Yeah.
And again, the business follows, so it worked.
So Fabrizio, if you look back to when, you said you were, looking after new agents and stuff when they're coming in, did you back then, obviously know what you know now? You didn't know what you know now, but did you back then, what did you do to help them? Some of them, you said that you had some rock stars. How did you help them prevent going through burnout?
So with all respect for whoever does that sport, all the respect, right? But there's a good analogy. The rowing, it's called the coxswain. The coxswain is the coach.
Yeah.
That stays on the boat and goes, row, and everybody rows. But with all respect, what kind of a coach is that? It tells you to do it, he's not doing it.
Yeah.
He's not rowing with the other guys. He's telling him what to do. That to me never worked. Yeah. And I know it was atypical as a manager because I wasn't the corporate guy behind the desk. I was never at the desk, in fact. I was always on the field with my guys.
Yeah.
So I always worked with them. Nobody worked for me, ever.
Yeah.
We always work as a team, and I would always bring the same analogy. If there's a boat and there's 4 seats, the 4 of us are rowing to go get paid.
Yeah.
So let's just go to work. And because the faster we row, the faster we get the result. So how about that? And then everybody was rowing. And it worked very well for me because when you all work with the same direction, I understand you need some leadership. I understand you need some coaching, of course. But I don't like the person telling you, you have to do this, and the person is not doing it.
Yeah.
Like I look at you, I know you have a fantastic career as a trainer and whatnot, but I've also seen you. I also saw a video with you doing 100 burpees in a row I do 5 or 6 and I pass out. So if I had someone that can do more than I do, telling me how to do a burpee, it would be difficult for me to understand it or respect this person. But when it comes to workout, I saw you doing the video. I was like, man, he did 100 burpees in one shot. Shit. So I will be more keen on listening to you and be
Yeah.
coached by someone like you, because I say, holy shit, I can do that, you know. So in my management style was definitely being with the guys on the field. And that's why my retention was solid. I would never lose agent. And we actually became personal friends. I have fantastic personal relationship with most of my agents because we became real tight. Some of them came to my wedding. Like we were real tight, because I would explain my guys. I said, guys, we spend, 40, 50, 60 hours a week together. I don't spend that many hours sleeping. You know what I mean? So let's be nice. Okay, let's work. Because if we spend this much time together and we don't make money, we're doing something wrong. And so it wasn't the attitude, and it wasn't the direction that we were all going to. I wasn't dictating what to do. I was working with them to get to the end result, and it worked out very well.
I think that's real important, because I remember back in the day, like when I was in the police, the sergeants and the supervisors that I had that I had the most respect for were the ones that were in the trenches with you.
Yeah.
The ones that if they told you to go out and do a checkpoint, they were standing right next to you. They weren't sitting in the office. They hated, yes, they had to do their paperwork, they had to look at our stuff and do all that. But as soon as they were done with that, they'd get it done as fast as possible, and they'd be out there with you in the trenches, and they'd be out there, stopping, they'd stop up with you when you stopped a car.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's, I think that's real important, especially for anybody who's a manager or anybody who's an executive or, at any level or wanting to be a manager that's listening or watching this, is that it's real important to actually be there and have that relationship with, as I call them, your troops. Because when you don't,
100%.
I was talking to I'm doing some extra work, working at the hospital, doing security at the moment. I was talking to our direct boss, and we were talking about the fact that, he has such a good relationship and everybody is so productive underneath him, because management above him will throw shit down and try and do stuff in that, but it almost stops with him, and he doesn't feed it down the line. He's like, okay, cool. He'll talk to people if he needs to, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. But, he lets them do their thing and lets them have fun and lets them be joyful. So that's an awesome thing, Fabrizio. It's, that's awesome to hear how well it worked, because like you were saying before, some of them burn out, but the ones that were working underneath you, because you were there right next to them, digging the fucking trench with them,
And again, trust me, we will work long hours, long days. And sometimes it wasn't even about how many hours we were working a day. It was the focus. Sometimes you work 2 hours and you're like, okay, I'm done for the day, because there was so much concentration on those 2 hours because you had to deliver. But again, we always did it together. I was often on the field. I will always work on weekends. Like, which senior managing director will go work on Sundays, prospecting for new clients or pitching for listings? I was always out on the field because that's where the money was. And the agents understood that, and I had a good following.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So the next question I have for you is, obviously back then you were very driven. You're still driven. I know this. You're just different thing. Life has shifted. So what is it, let's think back then or even now, what is it that would drive you and keep you doing, what you love through both the easy times and the hard times? As you know, and all everybody on here that's listening knows, I'm quite a why guy. So it's like, what was your why, or what is your why that kept you driving through those easy and hard times?
It changed so many times, and I feel like it changed with age or with experiences that I had, right? Listen, I came to New York with $300. I made it work, right? Then I got into real estate. So my mid-20s, late 20s, I was just trying to figure out who was going to be my next girlfriend. What was my place in New York? Like, what do I do? Like, no priorities whatsoever. I didn't care for anything else, to be honest, because what do I have to care for? Then I'm on my early 30s. Now I'm thinking, okay, now I have a good job. I want to make money. I want to be, it was, to me, it was important how much I was spending every week, and to me, it was important just to see the career and maybe starting to find true love, that started to become interesting and important to me. Then you have like the mid 30s, late 30s. It's all about a career. Now I want to have a family. I want to have a home. I need to find a solid home, not these apartments. I need to find something that becomes mine, right? And it became my why. It became like an obsession. Like I need to find someone that I can rely on. I need to find a partner because I feel like I need it, right?
Mm.
And then early 40s, mid 40s, I was like, okay, now I want a family. And my why became how much can I produce so that I can have a comfortable life with my loved ones. And to me, maybe it's because I don't have a family. Maybe it's because I do have a family, but it's just very small. And unfortunately, I was 14 years old. I was already working because my family wasn't rich. Not about being rich, we needed it. Okay, like there was nothing, and I was fine with it. That's how I was raised, And maybe that's the mentality because growing up, I always had multiple jobs. Even in New York, in the first 2-3 years, in the first 6 years, I still had 3 jobs.
Mm.
And even now that I don't hustle as much anymore, I still have like 6-7 different revenues, because I feel like I still need it, right? But the why, it's always been based on what my primary focus was. At the beginning was the girlfriend and who am I in New York City? Then it became true love and a career. Then it became I have a career, but I need to make money, And then it became I need to find true love and I want a family. And then I was like, okay, now I have a family. I have true love. I don't want to work 80 hours a week anymore. So how do I do that?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So I sat down and found a way,
What would you say the most common thing through all of that was? What was the most common why through all of it? Can you see any?
I don't know if I can pinpoint one specific thing, but it's also true that, like in real estate, when we recruit new agents, you can tell if someone has it. You can tell if this person is likely to make it. And it doesn't necessarily apply to real estate, but anything in life. You meet someone like you and I, when we first met, I'm like, okay, this is my guy. Like I knew that you were someone I could have had a beer with. I knew that you were someone I could have had a conversation about anything. We just connected, right?
And it was
in
all
a room with 5,000 people.
And it was all because I was wearing a Ducati jacket.
Straight to my heart. But again, the priorities to me have always been family, motorcycles, and real estate.
Yeah.
In different orders and different points of my life, but real estate as a home in the beginning, then as a career, I understand, but now as a home again, and so the why, I always follow what was my motivation for that 5 or 6 years gap, what's important to me. And again, New York City is a very selfish town because although it's a huge city, it's small and it's all about you. Because think about it, when you know what I mean? It's not Europe or New Zealand that when you go to restaurants, you see these big tables. No, you go to restaurants, small tables. It's all couples, it's not a large group. You don't have a large group of friends. It's not such an outgoing, selfless town. It's all about you. How much can you produce on what you do? Small apartments, you know what I mean? And so by doing that, I figured that I just needed to find the best opportunity to get my slice out of it, because I want to find a place in New York City, and it worked out. Listen, New York has been very good to me. I spent 20 years there,
All right. So if you have say there's somebody that's listening, what would you, and they're unsure of their why or where they're at in life, in that stage of life, as you said, finding their purpose, what advice would you give them for, helping to figure it out?
So I also feel like we're all different, right? So your reason, my reason, your why, extremely different. So the skill is for us to find what our why is. I was dragged there, and this is not promotional marketing, but sometimes you need to go to a Tony Robbins event to figure out what is it. Because I hated it. I didn't like it. I went once. I was like, whatever. My wife dragged me to Date with Destiny. I was like, oh shit, this is it. And now I got it. But again, I don't necessarily think that it's all about Tony Robbins or whatever the case may be, but sometimes you need someone to shake you up a little bit and say, okay, this is what it is. And maybe this is what you're looking for. And sure enough, I found it. So that was awakening.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a coach or just somebody just to talk to somebody about it and be like, hey, what do you think? You know, this is all this shit that I enjoy doing. This is what I do, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, what do you think? Or, you know, different tools. Yeah. I totally agree with that. I mean, you saw me at the very beginning of Date with Destiny, and you know me now a couple years later.
What happened?
I went to Date with Destiny, went in there one person and walked out the door a different person. So
it was a trip.
Yeah.
It was a trip.
Yeah. Met some amazing people as well, which is awesome. So, all right. So, you know, obviously you're still, you know, you got your fingers in the real estate stuff and that, and, you know, the people that we hang around with all get amazing advice from you. But what would your number one piece of advice be for anybody listening who wants to, you know, get into real estate? Or I know it's trying, sorry, pardon me. I know it's trying times at the moment with COVID and stuff like that, but obviously that's going to come back. We all have to have somewhere to live. So what would you say is your number one piece of advice for listeners if they are wanting to come into, say, real estate or sales?
So, you see, I feel like the main difference between the top producer at the firm and the person that just started, in most cases, besides the personal confidence and the skills, it's generally speaking is product knowledge. Because you can speak with the top producer in a few seconds, he can tell you where you're most likely to find what you're looking for and why. And then you have a conversation with someone that started a month ago, and you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, because this person doesn't know what he's talking about because he has no experience. Very simple. So in most cases, it's product knowledge. Like, you need to know which building is which and what's going on. Like, I never forget, to me, a part of the training I will do with my top guys, we will go on a roof deck in a building in New York and just start pointing at buildings and say, which one is it and what's going on? Who's the managing agent? What are the common charges? What are the real estate taxes? What kind of amenities do they have? What kind of a kitchen do they have? And then we will play the game, you know, and we will see like who knew more. And it was exciting because just by looking at the building, photographic memory in one way, but also we visited and previewed like crazy. And there was something else I will do with my team. I will take them out previewing once or twice a week. I will go out with them. Number one, we would learn together. And number two, there was a bonding exercise, you know? And so definitely knowing the product. Then secondarily, yes, you hope that your client is cash, but you need to know and learn financing. Although it's not a broker, it's not a real estate broker's job to offer financing to a buyer, but it's smart for you to know what options are available, so you can kind of work with your team of mortgage brokers to better pre-qualify your client on the spot.
Yeah.
So those two are important. Now the third one, preaching to the choir, you got to listen to someone that has done this before you did. So I hated the seniors in my office when I started, because I looked at them like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But meantime, if you think about the failure rate of 90% in the first 6 months, there's a reason why those guys are still there. And I'll tell you, in New York, there's a gala every year, right, that you always go to. And it's real estate, the real estate industry, everybody goes. And there's a certain smirk, there's a certain smile you do to each other when you see someone that you saw at this gala for a few years. Because you know that if you keep seeing this person, the person is making it. You know what I mean? It's rare to find someone, if 100 people go into real estate, only maybe 10 or 15 make it through the first year. 3 years later, maybe 1 or 2 are still alive. You know what I mean? And so 6 or 7 years later, if you keep seeing the same person at the gala, means that this person is not only making it, it's very successful.
Yeah.
So I've been doing. You keep seeing the same people over and over, like, and you start looking at your computer. So that's so I would say, yeah, you need to listen to the same, get a mentor of some kind, join a team if you think it's the right thing to do. Definitely work with someone that can prevent an early mistake. Because just like in every sport, like golf, I don't play golf, but you start learning on your own, you get a bad habit. And then how long do you need to get the bad habit out of your swing?
Yeah.
Right. And sorry for being too straightforward, but how many shady and shitty brokers there are? A lot. Yeah. Because they're not taught the right way at the beginning, and they get the bad habit with the swing, and they think it's okay, and they become worse and worse and worse every year, right? And that's what it is. So definitely get someone to coach you. And then again, it's the boxer's ability we were discussing before. Yeah. Can you take a punch? Can you be rejected 10, 15 times and still have a beautiful smile? That sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you broke collarbones or pulled tendons at the gym. Yeah. And benching or whatever exercise, pull the muscle, you still go back, Yeah,
exactly. I like that. I like that. It as you said, know your, and this goes for anything really, know your product.
100%.
Know what you're selling, because if you don't know what you're selling, people will see right through it and they'll be like, yeah, no. That and the coaching, it's all extremely good.
It's the lack of preparation, but also the lack of self-preparation, like mentally ready. And also it's the attitude, like, I used to do so many trainings. Like, I'm talking about 6-7 trainings a week when I used to work in the industry. And the most common thing I will hear, oh, you make it sound so easy. I said, well, it is easy for me because I've been doing it for so long. Yeah. But you can't look at me and think you're going to be like me the first month. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, they're never going to be like you, Fabrizio, because they're going to be their version of what they get from you.
I know, but it's like me looking at you doing burpees. I'm like, oh shit, it makes it look so easy. Well, how long have you trained to do 100 burpees? You know what I mean? That's what people don't see. And this is what upsets me. I'm like, dude, it's not as easy. It's easier for me to tell you how it is. Yeah. But the reason why I'm here as a manager is because I can work with you to prevent the mistakes I made when I started so long ago. So you can reach better achievement faster. It's a very simple thing to understand.
And that's the awesome thing. Like, I even have a coach, I had a coach that helped me set up my business how I have it, because I was like, I don't know, I could fumble through and it'd take me 5 years to kind of do it, and I may or may not make it, but literally he got me and I was up and going in like a month. I was like, holy cow, this is, you can get there. Some things are so much faster than other things, and you learn so much, especially if you're there and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be a sponge, I'm gonna take it all in, I'm gonna try everything, and if some things aren't with my values in that, okay, cool, I won't, they'll be there, so I can actually tip into them if I need to. But you learn so much.
I'll give you an example in real life. Forget about real estate. My other real passion is motorcycles, right? I've been going through the track for 15 years at least, and I'm proud to say that for being a guy that goes to the track every once in a while, I'm fast. I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I have a lot of experience. I have maybe 130, 140 track days. Good. And about 3 years ago, I decided to take a school. There was a racing school for this brand. I said, let me try, And at the end of the 2-day class, with coaches all day long, they wouldn't let you go. They wouldn't let you do 2 turns. If you made a mistake, they will stop you, go back, do it again, follow him, chase him, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the 2 days, I said, what bothers me the most? That I think I'm good. I know I'm good because I see when I play, I see how I deal with the other guys on the track. I have a lot of experience. I know this track better than you guys because you guys came here from nowhere, and I'm always here 2-3 times a month. And I don't understand how is it legal that this is not imperative. This training is not a must for anyone that starts going to the track from day one. Because if I had that training that I learned in those 2 days, the first day I put foot on the track, I would probably be a professional by now.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry.
No joke. I learned so much.
Fabrizio, you glitched on that. What was that?
What was that?
What was that? You glitched on that. What was that number one thing?
If I find it so impossible to believe that the training that they offered me on those 2 days wasn't something mandatory that everyone had to go through on their first day of the track. Because if I had that kind of training when I first started, and then if I added the hundreds of days I spent on the track on my own, I'll be a professional racer by now, no questions. And I told her, I was pissed. I got my award because I got #1 and the whole thing. I was upset, literally upset. I was like, I can't believe I didn't know about this when I started. Because I love racing. I love going the track. I love dragging knees and go fast and whatnot. But the disappointment that I had when I figured, holy shit, if I would have learned this 15 years ago and I would have had 15 years to practice, I'd be one of the coaches by now.
Yeah.
And this applies to real thing. It applies to everything. And in real life, if I had someone, Chris, like me, to teach me how things were in real estate when I started, forget it. I mean, number one, so two things, to be honest, two things. Number one, if I had someone like me teaching me. Number two, if I would have listened to someone.
That's the real
listen.
Yeah.
When I started, I wasn't an easy listener.
So on that, Fabrizio, I know that you're doing your own stuff. You know, you're a little bit more chill than that, but I also know that you enjoy, you know, teaching people and stuff like that. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you and wanted to pick your brain and get some of that knowledge so that they could advance themselves, you know, be that racer in 10 years instead of the person who all of a sudden goes, why the fuck didn't I have all this? How do they get in touch with you? How would you like them to get in touch with you?
My cell, 917-940-7652. It's an easy, just shoot me a call, shoot me a text.
There you go.
I have a couple of agents I'm personally coaching. It's going very well. I have my team up in New York. I have something down here that we're working on, something we're going to launch. Hopefully by the end of the summer, it's going to be good. It's going to be really good.
Yeah. There you go. Fabrizio just gave you his number so you can give him a call. So not many people are open to doing that. So Fabrizio, last question I have for you is, what is one thing you would tell viewers, just one thing, your top one thing, to help them prevent or counter burnout? Say somebody's going through it, or they want to, you know, they want that one tip that's going to help them, not go through it.
Difficult to find one thing to pinpoint because there's so many. But for me, the most important, to me, time management allow me to find the proper balance in life between personal and business. Because the end result, there is no such a thing as a part-time real estate agent. You're in 8 days a week. That's it. Okay, you're at the beach and you're on your phone with the charger because the clients are calling. Okay, at the beginning, you leave the phone on at night because you may have some crazy European calling you at 4:30 in the morning. Okay, and you pick it up.
Yeah.
But time management is the most important because many people burn out because they feel that they're putting in too much and getting so little out of it. But what that so little is, sometimes it's just personal space. They just need time to breathe.
Yeah.
And so, we all decompress in different ways. We all get compensated in different ways. Talk about the love languages for 1 second. For that book, it's amazing how people get compensated different ways in life. So I feel like it's a combination of managing time and understanding that we need time to ourselves, and then again, the ability of learning that amount of product, and at the same time dealing with the rejection that are on the everyday basis, especially in a town like New York City, or anyone else for the matter, because it doesn't matter New York versus Kentucky. You still get rejected. You still need to learn it.
And it really doesn't matter what industry or thing you're in, or what you're doing. Take me, for example, a huge fitness person. Sometimes I need to take a break from fitness. I need to switch it up, and I need to actually schedule in things of, okay, cool. It's like that thing of, so many people are like, go with their fitness, and I'm like, when did you last have a deload week where you just went real light, real easy, and just took it nice? But
the fitness analogy is perfect because you will know that you recuperate the most when you're sleeping or when you're resting.
Yeah.
You overwork, you overtrain, and you don't see any results, and you get pissed, and you burn out, and you leave the gym. Exactly. And now you leave the gym at 4 days later, you're like, oh, I got good definition. Yeah, because you're resting.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so true. And with all of us, at the moment being in isolation and doing all these HIIT workouts, I'm like, all these people are not going to be getting the results that they think they're going to get because you can't do HIIT workouts every single day.
Yeah,
at most do them 2 or 3 times a week. That's it.
Yeah.
But awesome, Fabrizio. Well, thank you again for being on the
Thank you,
show.
man.
There's a lot of really good information in there. If you've just finished listening to this, I recommend go back and listen to it again because there's a ton of good information in there, especially, if you're wanting to be one of those top managers, or even if you just want to be, a lonely cop. I use the cop thing all the time because that's what I was and that's what I trained. So a lot of really good information in there. Remember, like, subscribe, all those fun things. And every Friday, New Zealand time, 6 a.m., we launch a new episode. And yeah, thanks again. And
Thank you, Chris.
thanks, Fabrizio. Really
Thank you, man.